Well, welcome. Today I am going to talk about long distance relationships and why most men, especially men between the age of 18 and 35, and even those above 35, should avoid any form of long distance relationships. Let me begin by perhaps providing some clarification on what I mean by long distance relationship. The central focus from my perspective has to do with the time frame, not the distance per se, more the time frame. The distance plays a part. If I am in London and you are in Manchester, I can get to you on a fast train in 2 hours and 10 minutes. If you are in, say, Aberdeen in Scotland, it would take me much longer to get to you on a train, but I can still get to you on a flight in 1 hour and 1 hour and 35 minutes, something in that region. Obviously, I have to travel to the airport, check in. So overall, it might take me roughly maybe 4 hours to get to you in Scotland. So you have the distance. That is an issue. The further the distance, the harder it becomes to maintain the relationship. But also, the longer the period of separation, the harder it is to maintain honesty in the relationship. For me, the time frame is what counts, because if both parties are happy to accommodate some level of inconvenience by traveling, it's possible to overcome the challenges of being apart from each other. You can spend 4 hours traveling, and maybe you can have it in rotation whereby both parties travel to see each other every week, every other week. So if you're seeing each other on a weekly basis, again, I have an issue with that length of time. In any case, that could work. So the key point has to do with the time frame of separation, no contact separation. For me, anything that exceeds 3 months is no longer and should no longer be called a relationship. 3 to 6 months is perhaps the max. And there are a number of reasons why I think long distance relationships should be avoided. As an overarching principle, from my perspective, the purpose of being in a relationship or the purpose of being married to someone, especially for a man, is that you have someone to come home to at the end of a working day, someone to come back to, someone to spend your time with, someone to be intimate and affectionate with, someone to share your experiences with. If you have to return back every day to an empty house, then what that indicates is that you're living no differently from how you were when you were single. Personally, what you have is the burden of being in a relationship. In other words, the restrictions that a relationship brings without the benefits of the person's presence, of the person's muse-like effects, especially for women. And therefore, there's no need. Personally, if I have to come back home every day and make my food, clean my house, turn on the lights, take out the refuse, do all the chores that I could have shared with you, or do all the chores that you would have been providing to me as a wife, the nurturing, the support role, the traditional gender roles that both parties could have played. If I'm not playing out any of those roles and I'm not receiving any of the benefits of what is expected of someone who has signed up to such a commitment, then it means that there is no necessity or need to be in a relationship. So my perspective is that long distance relationships unfortunately cannot satisfy the minimum requirements that are necessary in a normal relationship or in a marriage, primarily because the person is elsewhere. So, on that basis, it's important to, I think, reconcile or come to terms with the fact that the need is not being met, but the burden that comes with being in that relationship has to be carried. I've also found, from experience, the long distance relationships are usually a waste of time. One person gets to cheat, two of you end up cheating, until what you find is a breach of the trust and the breach of the intimacy and the breach of what was the general good faith agreements that both of you signed up to or discussed or implicitly believed that you were committing to. And so for that reason, my perspective has always been, when you have to move away for whatever reason, business, work, education, terminate if you can. If there's a term to your departure or a term to your travel or your obligations, sit down and have a conversation. My preference is always to bring the relationship to a useful close, terminate the relationship so that both parties understand that there is no obligation on either party. I've often said to my female friends or women I know that you can choose what you want to be to a man. You can either be a booty call, and in this case I would call long distance relationships an occasional booty call. You're just hooking up occasionally. Number two, you can either be a girlfriend or a wife or a spouse, a partner, or you can be an ex. You have to choose one. You want to be a booty call, you want to be a girlfriend, a partner, a wife, or you want to be an ex. Personally, I consider long distance relationships to simply be occasional booty calls. Someone you see every 2 weeks and you have your needs met, or sometimes every month, sometimes every 6 months, and have your needs met. That is even worse than a traditional booty call, because your needs are only met occasionally within certain confined arrangements. Now, I know this is slightly difficult for both men and women. My experience has been that usually fundamentally there's an issue with most relationships. Men generally get into relationships or get married believing and thinking that things will be the same. So I've met you at the early stage of the relationship. We have great sex, we have good intimacy, we have a lot of fun. You have no criticisms of who I am or what I do. I can have it on demand whenever I want, wherever I want, obviously within certain limitations. It's just so much fun. You're attractive, you remain attractive, long hair, you're sexy, you're thin, you're fun to be around. Even my friends love having you around because you're just bubbly. Men go into relationships thinking that things will remain the same. Now, what you put forward is what they would get for the duration of the relationship. Obviously, a fundamental flaw from men. Women, on the other hand, get into relationships or get married thinking that they will change the men. In other words, they come in doing everything they can to secure the relationship. They keep their hairs long, they look after themselves, they take care of their physique, they exercise, they stay thin, they stay attractive, they have generally a good attitude. As soon as they get married, as soon as the relationship begins, as soon as exclusivity is announced, all of that goes out the window. They stop all of that. Sometimes they start cutting their hair. They start putting on weight. They stop trying. Sex becomes something to be used as a weapon, something to be rationed out. And how dare you be like Oliver Twist and say, please, can I have some more? But that's not even the issue. The main issue is that they begin what I call the makeover project, where they believe, well, now I want to change you into the man I think you could be. And what you find is almost a naivety between both parties. One party thinks things will change. One believes things will remain the same. Now, if you bring both of those into the context of long-distance relationships, is when it begins initially, usually the man thinks, okay, well, I'm getting sex every day. The woman moves away, in this case. And in his mind, he's thinking, well, I'm already used to having sex. So I'll just find someone else to satisfy that need. It won't be emotionally, there will be no emotional investment. It will simply be physical. The woman, on the other hand, is expecting that the intimacy, the affection, the man can wait. Because the man she's met will turn out to be the man who can wait for her to return. Now, we can play the scenarios on the other way. The woman stays, the man goes away, but he still thinks, but I have a need, and I need to have this need met. So I'll have someone meet that need. And what you find is a breach of trust and intimacy issues that are not necessary. That perhaps if both parties had said, well, I'm moving away, and you have no obligation. If you want to wait, that's your decision. But I'm moving away, and we have the freedom to do whatever we want. So that there is no breach of our good faith expectations. Now, when you look at the two scenarios I just explained, one person believing things will remain the same, one person believing things will change. I usually say, if I don't change to get you, the woman, I will not change to keep you. Perhaps one of the very, very important idea to keep in mind for both parties. If he does not change to get you, he will not change to keep you. Fundamentally important, which means men at the early stage, because dating is simply an art of deceit, you're putting your best foot forward. You should apply what I call a Windage Factor. Think about it from this perspective. If you were doing some form of, say, clay pigeon shooting, you do not shoot to the target. Recognizing that the target is a moving object, you shoot in anticipation as to where the target will be at a particular point in time, allowing enough time for your bullet to get to that place and trying to match how long it would take for your bullet to get there and how long it would take for that moving object to get to this destination. So you apply what we call a windage factor, recognizing that there will be wind, you have to go through the obstacle of wind, or even if you're in some form of archery, you do not shoot at the target, you shoot through the target, allowing a margin of error, recognizing that, depending on how windy it is, recognizing that there could be other issues, perhaps a lack of purity in the air, obstructions that could reduce the trajectory of the arrow. In the same way, when you meet a woman, you might be having sex 6 times a week. The windage factor you should apply is that you would only get 25% of that once things normalize, after the 6 months, after the 1 year, after the marriage. If you're happy with that 25%, the reduction, then that's great. If you're not, then in principle you should simply say, well, she will change. Therefore, whoever she's going to change into is not what I want today. The same thing applies for a woman. When you see the man and you think, well, I think I can change him, recognize very, very likely he will not change. And you have to satisfy yourself with whether you can live with the same person who refuses to change. My preference is always the same. Avoid makeovers. Take people as they are, because people seldom change. It's very hard to get people to change. But let me bring you back to the whole conversation about long distance relationships, and I try to bring this to a close. One of the reasons I do not like long distance relationships is that it gives you the false perception of romance. You're away, you're dating me, I see you once a month for the weekend. That 2 days that we spend together, maybe one night, 2 days, is very romantic. You put your best foot forward. You come in your best form. Wear the best clothes, the best perfumes, well manicured, best attitude because you haven't seen me for a long time. And myself, I'm putting forward my best foot forward. The next month, I see you again for the weekend. So we can do that for 6 months, 7 months, 2 years. The reason it's really false is that relationships go through cycles. Long distance relationships do not allow for the natural cyclicality in a relationship. There'll be times when you cannot stand each other. There'll be times when you cannot be away from each other. Long distance relationships create the false belief that everything is well, because all you remember are the moments you've spent together. And I remember in one particular scenario, I had to say to the person that I was dating that it's important that we start dating again. Let's just pretend that we've just met each other for the first time. The reason I said this was because the person was using the period that we had been together as a foundation for the fact that, look at what we have. From my perspective, I was simply saying, no, we have to date again. We have to assume that we haven't dated before, because right now, there is no relationship. Personally, the way I feel is that you are now my ex. And there has to be some form of dating again, courting and romance, and reigniting something that, from my perspective, was dead. The person, on the other hand, believed that there was a lot of memory that we had, rightly so. But if you go through one of the things I've said so far, is if you're not there when I return home, if you're not there to provide what I think are the benefits for which I'm paying the price, then you would fall into one of 3 groups. You can either become the girlfriend or the wife or the partner, the bully cop, or you're the ex. In any case, the best way to think about long distance relationships is to remember this. We all have needs. We all have wants. In the absence of what I would consider to be temptations, distractions, it's possible for you to stay faithful to whatever commitment you've made. Most people who go into long distance relationships, unfortunately, do so as part of a byproduct of pursuing a dream. It goes back to the whole point I've made about young men. Between age 18 and 35, you should not be dating. You should simply be hooking up. 95% of your time should be spent on education, your dreams, your goals, your profession, trying to achieve your best, the best version of who you are, trying to achieve something tangible, achieve a goal. You shouldn't be thinking about marriage. You should not be thinking about relationships. You should not be thinking about moving in with someone until you've achieved your dreams. Once you have achieved your dreams, if an opportunity comes for a long distance relationship, you can make a decision where you say, well, why don't you come with me? Because in many ways, you've achieved your dreams. Both of you have achieved your dreams. It's then possible for you to turn down opportunities that take you away from what you believe to be a serious relationship. On the other hand, if you are still pursuing your dreams, it would be wrong for you to give up your dreams for the relationship. In my experience, and when this happened to me, I was very, very adamant. I'm not going to give up my dreams for the relationship. No, my goals come first. Your goals should come first. The person in question was happy to continue to date. They were also happy to terminate their goals to come back to ensure the relationship continued. I rejected that proposal. Part of the reason I ended the relationship was because the person was adamant that they were going to leave whatever job they had, which was a significant pursuit and dream of theirs, that they were going to forego that opportunity to come back for the relationship. And I simply walked away. My reason being, I've never been comfortable with stealing people's dreams for relationships which usually have a 50% chance of survival. You know, divorces, usually there's a 50% chance 1 in 2 marriages will end in a divorce. On the other hand, your goal is something that has a probability. And if you're within reach of that goal, you should never gamble certainty for something that is uncertain. So in my case, I simply said, no, I want you to pursue that dream of yours. Achieve that dream. I am not going to let go of my dream. But let's just bring this relationship to a close, because I have needs, and I don't believe in doing things behind people's backs. I usually am very upfront. You also have needs. There is no need you going behind my back to satisfy those needs. The distance is so much that we cannot meet each other's needs. So the right thing to do is for us to become exes. There's no need to be in a relationship. As much as there is love, love does not get the job done, unfortunately, in relationships. It just doesn't. It's not enough. It's one ingredient, but it's an insufficient. Though important, it's still insufficient to make the relationship work. So, for men particularly, avoid long distance relationships. Be honest with people. And I'll say this in closing, because I know this is something I've seen amongst young men, where you make promises that you cannot keep, or where someone else who is a woman is dedicating herself and her future to you, where actually you're doing other things. I would say bite the bullet, terminate the relationship, let her loose, let her go. In the long run, although the relationship terminates, there is a peace that comes with you knowing that someone has not sacrificed their dreams for you. And there's also a peace that comes with knowing that you haven't sacrificed your dreams for another. I hope that's been useful.